Welcome to this week's Tuesday update. Sorry for the ones who are on live. We had a malfunction. My camera's nuts, and I'm hoping I have it fixed soon, but thanks for your patience. We are talking the honey hole. I'm going to recap and go through what we went through in the first part of the call, and then we'll close it out. But we're running some stats against what it takes to be a great salesperson for following up into the transaction and making sure that you get the best out of any leads that you have. So often we are looking for the next lead, the next realtor meeting, the next financial planner meeting, the next opportunity. And what I'm telling you today, the honey hole is sitting in the leads that you've gotten and not nurtured. Listen to me. The leads that are already in, going back 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, and making sure that your habits are being created to follow up with them in a way that is for the stats. So let's review some stats that have stacked up, and I'll rattle these off to you. I did some studying on different sales techniques and what is best proven based on the thought process of a client buying a high value purchase item. So I ran it against a primary residence, a secondary residence, a car, a luxury watch. And 56% of buyers second guess after the first call. So hear me out on that. They call up, hey, I'm interested in the mortgage. You respond to them. They say, okay, great, thanks. 56% of them just second guessed it. In other words, went home and said, honey, you sure you want to do that? Think about the mindset of the client. 35% question on a second home, probably because they've done it and it's not as major move for them. It's an addition. They've thought more into it. So a little less percentage. 48% second guess a car. Myself and my son have done that recently, both buying the cars in the last 6-8 months. I checked it out 3 times. I thought about it, man, maybe I don't want it. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I second guessed it. That was 48%. Luxury watch was 45%. If you average those luxury purchases, it's a 46% second guess. Now, let's take it a step further. How many of them that second guessed ended up buying? 65% end up buying the primary, 55% end up buying the secondary home, 55% end up buying the car, 45% end up buying a watch, for a mixed average of 55%. So average of 46% of people who call the first time second guess whether or not they want to do it. 46%. Out of those 46%, 55% say they're going to close on it and do the deal. 46% question it. Out of the 46%, 56 end up going with it, 55%. Now, I also wanted to go into why. What makes them change their mind? What makes them second guess? And here were the top answers. Payment and investment. Can I handle the payment? And is the investment worth it? You have to look at in the mortgage industry the 3 to 5 year play out if they take that appreciation, what it does to their net worth. If you are not discussing net worths on any of these purchases, you're making a big mistake. I watch first-time home buyers all day in this business who go from $300,000 house, 2 years later, they got a $60,000, $75,000 net worth because of the equity and the cash they've saved for living when they've been living anyway. So you have to point that out when you're making these evaluations of, hey, what's hesitating the client to do it? Payment and investment. Show them the return on the investment. Show them the better future of the payment and average interest rates and things. You got to dig in. Show them ways to get into the budget that will help. Maybe they can cut other places to be able to afford the home that they want so they get the appreciation that they're desiring. Follow me. Maybe there's other things they cut. Less down, cut some other debt. You can afford more house. Are you working the whole picture for them? And I think that's what it comes into important. Now, number 2, payment and investment were number 1. Number 2 was good terms. If the market stinks, you got to paint it up to where you can get them in a little bit cheaper. Maybe that's a buy down. Maybe that's paying a little bit towards the rate. Maybe it's a temporary buy down is obviously a good one to do. Maybe it's the seller paying closing costs. But having that good terms conversation around how to better the terms is how I would phrase that is important. Number 3, market conditions. When you get on the phone with a client, talked about this on the last call. Hey, nice to meet you. I know you're interested in a mortgage. Triangle of trust. Number 1, How do you know Judy? Judy's one of the best agents out there. She's like a pit bull. I'm so glad you're working with her. I can't wait to dig in. She's unbelievable when it comes to handling the transactions. You're in great hands. I am sure you've been able to check on the real estate and mortgage industry. What opinion have you formed of where the market's at right now? Ask the question. What opinion have you guys formed on the market right now in this real estate world? What have you seen? What do you know? What do you think? If you ask those questions, a lot of the whys, you'll be able to find out. I want to take this a step further. Ask the question and shut up and listen. Too many times we're going in and saying, here's what we got, here's what I got, here's what I got, here's what we can do, here's what we can do. Hey, first question out. How you got to me, triangle of trust. What's most important to you in this transaction? Why? Let them talk. What do you know about the industry so far, the mortgages and real estate and how things are going? What's your thought on the opinion of the mortgage and real estate community industry as a whole right now in today's market? Elections going on, things like that. I'm sure you formed an opinion. Ask the question and listen to be able to make the sale. 80% of salespeople require 5 or more follow-ups. This has been out there for a long time. They'll tell you got to call 5, 6 times. What I want to reference this into 80% of salespeople require 5 or more follow-ups is 44% of them, meaning the salesperson stops after the first inquiry. So you get that realtor.com lead, the Zillow lead, the realtor lead, the past client lead. They're not sure if they want to refi. They might. You're going back and forth on leads. Most 44% are only checking in with them once. But yet the statistics say that you got to hit 5 touch points. Didn't say calls, I said touch points. So if you don't have on an autoresponder following up with that email, making sure they get that, it takes 8 to 12 touch points to get the deal. Calls, emails, and texts. Are you doing that? Are you providing information? 60% of consumers say no or think about that before they move forward. 4 times. 38% go with whoever's quickest. Quick to the return, that's a big part. So you got to be quick. You got to triangle of trust. You got to ask them what they know. You got to find out their whys. And then you got to build around that. That's what we're doing. You follow the format now. So think about that. Look back in the last 90 days, 6 months, a year of people who have not applied. I had 82 after we sifted it down a little bit. 82 people called that we got to follow up and make sure that we're hitting 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 touch points, not just email, not just text, not just phone calls, 8 to 12 touch points in order to capture that deal, because 80% of them will follow through with me if I hit 5 of them. Are you playing the odds? That would be the question. Now, what is good follow-up? First off, the first thing I would send out is a personal email. Here's what I heard you say. And you list off the things that you paid attention to on that call that makes you different than the person they're calling on the other side of a mortgage or ran into an open house. Here's what I heard you say. Dictate it in, have AI dial it in, send them a really great first email. Number 2, information on the market and updates on what's going on. You are the expert. Tell them what the weather's doing. That's number 2. You can always find updates. Number 3, offer value, added service or incentives. I think of my passport to Charlotte, added ebook. I think of my mortgage planner university. I think that's an extra. I think of any podcast or radio or books I could recommend to the client. All of that is relative. Websites, things like that you're helping them with. Added value might be 3 calculators they can use. A prepayment calculator where they can add more $25 to the principal and see how much it saves them. Added value. Now, then there's success stories. This is done lightly. Do you stay in touch in front of the people who are looking to make a decision about other people who just successfully closed with you? So often we'll post a survey on social media, but yet don't send it to the people who are currently looking to move forward with you, whether it's a lead or a prospect that's already been in process, or someone who's pre-approved looking and waiting to make that decision, and you're in the middle of those 8 to 12 touch points. Number 4, resources and guide tools. I think that's similar to 3. Follow-up calls between these are necessary. It's in one of my notes I have down. Immediate follow-ups when a lead comes in should be 1 day, 2 day, 4 day. Boom, boom, boom. We're hitting them. And they're getting 2, 3 emails, text messages. Hey, are you there? And we're staying in heat on that deal. Now, as you look at these touch points and you think about my batting ratio of leads coming in year to date, have you looked at the leads that came in, how many people applied, what the difference is. And I mean, credit is out of there. People who went somewhere else decided not to go with you, but the ones who sat on the sideline, that 80% that require 5 or more, did you increase your percentage? So when I look at the honey hole in my business, I'm strictly looking at all of the people that have called me that I didn't get a close on an application and a decision on because we didn't pursue them enough. Is that you right now? Do you have your 8 to 12 touch points in place? Could you do more today on the leads that have come in over the last year or two? How far back do you need to go? Who cares? Go back to all of them, because here's what I know. Things change. People's life change. I went into the Jeep dealership 3, 4 times and I finally closed on it. My son shot 3, 4 times. He finally closed on it on car. Why are we not following through with the client more intently? One of my coaches told me a while back, I shared this earlier, when he was following up, I called for a coaching call, and his girl called back to schedule it. I ignored it, deleted the email. She did it a couple more times, finally called me. I scheduled. I said, hey, man, sorry it was so hard to get me scheduled. Sorry you had to chase me. He says, I didn't chase you. I was making my services more available. Are you making your services available to someone who's already called you, or are you desperately looking for the next lead? I think you have a choice to nurture the ones that they're in, play the odds, and increase your percentage from whether it's a 22% year to date going to 40% and making a difference on this year's income and applications. See you soon.